So to start out, I'm going to stand up here because my pointer is giving me some issues. This is pretty common. If you've ever attended one of my sessions, something always breaks. It's just how it goes in the morning. But today what I want to talk to you about is turning a lead into a sale. Okay? So beginning with, you've had an intro on me. You're welcome to add me on LinkedIn. I would appreciate it if you did, actually. And you're always welcome to reach out with any questions that you have. Okay? So I have spent my career building and implementing solutions that increase efficiency and ROI within each department of a dealership in both the generation side of our business, which is what we look at as marketing, and the conversion side of our business, which is people and process. Okay? So these two elements work hand in hand, but rarely independently. And in our industry, we spend billions of dollars, $55 billion per year, according to Google, to bring in marketing, to bring in traffic, to bring people to our website or on our lot. But we spend very little time or money in learning how to truly convert the opportunities that we're bringing in. So I'm never one to say spend more money if you're not doing what you need to do. So today, we're going to cover that in a whole. So to get started, I'm going to start you with a pro tip. Okay, we're going to look at pro tips through each of the session. These are your takeaways. I am not one to sugarcoat things, so if you haven't seen me speak yet, that's not really my style. But I am one to create buy-in. I do believe that's extremely important. So everything that we talk about today, I want you to think about like we're building a house. Okay? We have the foundation of our home that we're building. And before we can put up walls and start to decorate, we have to make sure there's no cracks in the foundation. If you ever try to remodel a house that has a cracked foundation, it's not a good time. And it's similar to changing a culture in your store or a process in your store. Okay? So pro tip number one, perception is reality. Please stop referring into your store as leads. Stop calling them that. The reason that I tell you that is mindset is what we begin with in this journey. And everything that I'm going to give you today is like a baseball game. We don't win baseball games with home runs, we win them with base hits. So everything that we look at today will be small things that you can implement at no charge to your stores, at no charge in the positions that you're in, that will create wins for you. And the first one is the mindset. So if you think about when somebody comes into a dealership, we never say, hey, did you get the lead that walked in the door? We don't say that. But when leads come in on a Sunday, we say things like, did you get the leads from the bucket yesterday? Did somebody answer the internet leads? If you think about what you're doing with your staff, with yourself, with the people in your department around you, what you're doing is creating an excuse for why those customers are treated differently. Because in your mind, they're not buyers. If you have one simple flip, which is to start to say, hey, did you get a hold of Debbie on the Tacoma? Did you get a hold of Jason on the F-150? You'll notice that sales staff, the people around you, or maybe even yourself, start to think, oh, Debbie's not just a piece of paper that came in. Debbie's a person who's an opportunity for me to sell a car and build a customer experience that is outstanding. Does that make sense? Does everybody agree? If you agree, say yes, please. All right. Good job, guys. All right, the next video I'm going to show you has a little bit of swearing in it. My boss is in here. He hates this word. I didn't make it. But this was requested on the forums as the presentation that we use, so I'm going to play it for you.
The leads are weak.
The leads are weak. The fucking leads are weak. You're weak. I've been in this business 15 years.
What's your name?
Fuck you. That's my name. You know
I
why,
didn't say
mister?
it.
Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my...
How many of you have seen that movie? Strong movie, right? I almost brought everybody coffee. Like, if you're taking my class, you're definitely going to be a closer. So... As we get started, I want to tell you that between knowing versus doing, there are only two reasons that something happens in a store that's not correct. One is that you know it's a problem or you don't know it's a problem, right? So either you don't know what you should do or you're just not willing to do it, right? This is a text that was sent out in our company. We're really big on leadership, and so we have these magical moment calls and we have these leadership texts that come out. And this is one that came out a couple weeks ago and it really resonated with me because it's so true. There is little difference between those who cannot read and those who will not read. The result of both is ignorance. Right? That's a powerful statement, and it says a lot for what we're doing in our industry and how we're handling the money that's being spent and what's coming into us. All right, let's talk a little bit real quick about people, process, and accountability and why we fail. Okay? So I'm going to touch on a couple different points for you because I don't know what part your store is in. I'm not going to make you do the whole raise your hand if you're a sales manager, tell me who you are. We're just going to touch on each one of those things. Beginning with the foundation of our house. So why do we fail in BDCs? Why do we fail in having salespeople handle leads? Why do we fail in hybrid situations? I've built 23 BDCs over the last 5 years. all that were successful and all that nailed their goals, and none of them looked the same. Because none of them look the same in our world, right? A BDC can be so many different things. But the top 3 reasons are we have the wrong people in the wrong positions, and what I mean by that is, oh, we've got George on staff, and he's really good with his phone, and he can make a spreadsheet. Definitely he's the internet director. Does anybody work in a store that's seen that happen, or have you seen that happen? Right? You're half a room of liars, because that happens all the time. What we have to start to look at is the keys for people that make them successful in these positions. Lack of performing processes. If you have a CRM and your process does not match what you expect on the sales floor, then you are not working the CRM efficiently. It should never feel like a chore. It should always feel like an assistant, and this is a big one. Complacent implementation and accountability. We're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but if you think about battles and wars, anytime somebody goes to battle, what happens? One person wins and one person says, forget about it. I'm over it, right? It becomes complacency. So you can choose to be the one that's right and wins the battle, or you can choose to be the one that's complacent. But know that in leadership, if you allow that, then none of the things I tell you today will matter. And if I could give you one piece of advice from this conference, it would be that you should take away at least 2 things from every session, at least 2 things from the vendor hall, and you should implement them when you get back. Otherwise, you've wasted your time here, okay? All right, let's talk about magnifying strengths. There are 3 different skill levels when it comes to salespeople or people in general. And now you can have multiples of these skill levels, but if you focus on what somebody's actually is, then it changes the course of what you're trying to accomplish. Okay, so we talk about phone skills. How many of you in the room have a phone tracking company that you actually listen to the calls on a daily basis from? Anybody? Did anybody want to throw up the last time they listened to them? It's like the best diet plan ever, right? Sometimes I'm like, I have a party next week, I just need to lose 5 pounds, I'm gonna listen to everybody's calls. But what happens is, we drive all this traffic into phone calls and then we don't know how to handle them. It's the biggest loss of business in your dealerships. The biggest. Because see, every time we get an internet lead in, we're trying to get them on the phone. And every time we put marketing out, we're adding tracking numbers, we're paying advertising companies millions of dollars a year so that they'll get us these phone calls and then we're not getting through to them. Nonverbal communication, that's texting, that's email. Texting is a whole nother subject, make sure you're legal on it. But that's email, it's nonverbal. And lastly, it's the showroom floor. I would bet that it's very rare for you to have somebody who is killer in the showroom on the floor as a closer and also can verbally or non-verbally communicate, right, in a strong way. So if you think about the teams that you have and you start to split them up by their strengths, and instead of magnifying their weaknesses, you focus on the strengths they have and you build those. And you start to separate your teams out and you start to say, if you're good on the phone, you're my phone person. We hope you have 5 of them. But we can't start to decorate the house until that foundation is fixed, so you have to start to look at strengths and weaknesses on people. And if you're the person answering the leads, then you need to look at yourself and find out where you need that training as well. All right, since we talked about mindset, from here on out, we're not going to use the word leads anymore. So as a favor to me, because I'm working on it too, anytime I use the word leads, I want you to clap. Let's try it. Leads. A little bit louder. I'm calling on you in the white who is not clapping. Yeah, you'll be singing by the end of this session, I promise you. All right, here's where we start. We have to start at start. And what I mean by that is you have to know your metrics right now and what you're trying to accomplish. I don't care who you bring into your store. If they come into your store, a consultant, a trainer, a vendor, whoever, and they say, oh, well, you're not closing enough deals. Let me teach you how to close. You should fire them right now. Because if you don't know the numbers where you're starting, you're not actually being trained on anything, right? We have to know how many leads. You guys better clap. Good job, guys. How many leads are coming in? How many were set? How many were shown? How many were confirmed? How many were sold? Do you know what that tells me? If I have real numbers for that and what it tells you, it identifies where your problem is in the store. It identifies where you have opportunity to improve. If you don't know those numbers, nothing you learn today will help you. All right. Pro tip number 2, stop allowing excuses. Stop allowing people to say things like, I called him, I just didn't log it. Then you didn't call him. Because you had to pull it up to look at the number. It was just one more button, right? Stop allowing, well, I answered him in 10 minutes. I mean, we were in such a hurry. I was so busy. A consumer's day changes in minutes. So get past that point. You have to be willing to do that to make that work. Now, where do you want to be? You can talk to anybody in the industry about what their numbers are, and everybody will give you a different answer. Most people will say, start at a 50-50-50, right? 50% of the leads that come in, slackers. Good job, guys. 50% of the leads that come in, nice. 50% of the ones that you talk to, 50% of, you see how that trend is going? In the Cardinelli group of companies, we've implemented all of the things that we're going to talk about today, and these are the numbers that we are at, and this is where we would like you to be. You don't have to hire me to be there. I'm going to give you that information today. They're those simple base hits. So 75% created, 75% confirmed, 80% shown, and 80% closed. Does anybody think these numbers are impossible? Good, I'm glad to hear it. There'll be no excuses for why you don't have it then. All right, first up, leads. How many of you are on a bucketing system, meaning they all come into one bucket and anybody can grab them? All right, how about a round robin? Okay, so it's not that either one of these are right or wrong, but here's what I would tell you. If you have your staff on a round robin, then you're playing the fair game. Oh, that's fair. Somebody should get that at 10 o'clock. Oh, somebody else got 1. Oh, somebody else got 2. But look, this isn't about fair. This is business, okay? The best practice for handling these digital opportunities is to put them into a bucket and say, whoever can grab them now and actually respond to them is who should be grabbing these. Does that make sense? Because what happens if Amy is up next? I'm going to pick on my team up here in the front. What happens if Amy is up next, but Amy's with a customer? That customer just waits? Oh, wait, I bet you have an alert somewhere in the system for the manager to get it within 5 minutes, and I'm sure they're stopping everything they're doing to pick up the phone and do it, right? But they're not, because that's not the priority in the moment, because we still call them leads. They're just pieces of paper coming in. Good job. My suggestion to you will always be that you put them in a bucket and that you take away fair. And if you say to yourself, well, none of my sales staff will answer them, then you have the wrong sales staff, and your problem is not internet. Your problem is a staffing solution, okay? Our business is not about being fair. It's about creating an experience from the very first time a customer interacts with us so that they choose us at the end, right? Anytime I say something you disagree with, I want you to raise your hand and let's talk about it. My session will be conversational, meaning we can have a conversation at any time. Yes? Sure. Well, one, you have the best problem in the world. But two, if are you using a CRM? Which one do you use? Okay, perfect. So once somebody's claimed a lead, get it together, guys. Once somebody's claimed a lead, you shouldn't have that problem because they shouldn't both be tackling it anymore. It should be only be able to be claimed once, and then they're working it from there. But let's talk after the session because I have a couple ideas for you. Pro tip number 3, sweat the details. If you've ever heard the saying, don't sweat the details, that is crap, right? We say that as an excuse. You should sweat the details. You should know that your customer's name is in the system correctly and that it's uppercase where it's supposed to be and lowercase where it's supposed to be. You should take 13 seconds to look through their past history because the easiest way to sell a car is to build rapport and make people feel special. Over 70% of the buying decisions are made by women in a household. Can you remember that my daughter's name is Destiny next year when I stop in again? Your system can. So sweat the details. It's the easiest way to handle things right away. So the first thing we're going to look at, read the lead, okay? I really want you guys to get this out of your mindset, and the only way it works is if you start punishing yourself for doing it, okay? The first thing is talking about go through the customer dashboard, however it comes in, if it's a CRM, however you have that happening, go through it and read through it. See what the customer did last time. We follow a philosophy called PHD. That's personal historical data. Those are the notes that belong in a system. Anything personal I know about you, anything historical that has to do with your trade, anywhere I left off in the deal, okay? Know those details before. The second thing I want you to do is make a phone call immediately. I don't care what they tell you. Don't you send that email immediately. You can go ahead and stop the clock and make yourself feel good, but you're not earning any more business because you're patting yourself on the back or because you're like, oh, I'm at 3 minutes with an autoresponder. Who opens that anymore, right? And I'm not picking on you. Because remember I said it's a knowing versus a doing problem. Do you know it's a problem? When you leave here, you will. Will you do something with it? The last thing is an email with a video. Now, based on how the phone call goes, you're either setting an appointment and sending a confirmation, you're sending them information that they had still requested, or you're trying to reach them still because they didn't answer the phone. For whatever reason that is, we face a lot of rejection in these departments. Video is a huge part of how you should be responding in your communication. But again, we're building a foundation for a house, so if you need to fill the cracks first, fill the cracks, but when you're ready to decorate, decorate it right. And that includes video. It's easy, it's simple, it's uncomfortable in the beginning. It's not that uncomfortable near the end, okay? As a pro tip for you, mirror, mirror on the wall, does anybody in the room have mirrors at their sales desks? Love that. Does anybody know why we do that? Do you know why we put a mirror there? Because I can say anything to you in one tone of voice. Like I could say, you're such a jerk. Or I can say, you're such a jerk. See that? That was the same thing. It sounded so much sweeter, didn't it? It's because I smiled, and when you smile, it pulls taut right here, and it causes your voice to increase with the inflection. It sounds sweeter, sounds nicer, okay? So put mirrors on the sales desk. It's a reminder. You can get them at the dollar store. You don't even have to spiff them out. All right, next up, this is where we're talking about sweating the details. If you notice up here, no, this is just a screenshot from Vin because that's the CRM I was using while building this. But if you look at Jennifer's name has a giant J and a giant E, right? If you don't change that when it comes in, then this is what a message goes out like. So I would challenge you, you've probably all heard the thing that people buy from people they know, like, and trust, right? If you've heard that, raise your hand. That's bullshit. You know why? How many of you also lost a deal in your family to another store? Yeah, did they know, like, and trust you? Yeah, no, the key is, while that's important, the key is making people feel special. See, answering digital opportunities or working with customers is like dating, right? In the beginning, when you're dating somebody, you make sure you say things in the morning like, wow, you're really pretty. Good morning, handsome, right? You're doing all this sweet stuff, like you're getting flowers, everything's going good. And then all of a sudden, one day, that starts to fade if you don't put in that effort. But you know, the reason that you caught that person in the beginning and the reason you captured their attention is because you did those little things. So things like this, like sweating the details, tell a customer that they're important enough for you to make sure that their name is spelled correctly. Here's another big problem, right? If I send out this whole email and it looks all grammatically perfect and then the name is wrong, do you know I sent you a template? Can you believe that I'm going to buy a car from you and you couldn't take 5 minutes to send me an email? I hate templates. I think that templates are a workaround and they're an excuse. But they are necessary for many stores due to volume, and they're necessary in the beginning while you're building that foundation. Okay? But it's not that hard to answer somebody. Now on day 16, I get it. But on day 1 and 2, you're trying to talk to a customer. You wouldn't have somebody walk in the dealership and be like, hi, my name is Bobbie. Let me walk you through the road to the sale. Let's just cut. That's ridiculous. But it's that mindset. Okay? Manners matter. Okay? Let's play a game. Tom Hawkins, you're going to be my guy. Tom, do you like the color red? No. Do you like the color blue? No. Do you think the sky is pretty?
Not bad.
Would you eat a dead squirrel off the road?
Would I what?
Eat a dead squirrel off the road?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Isn't that a ridiculous question for him to answer? Like, now that you're thinking about it, you're like, that's a weird question. But see, your entire life, society, and probably your mom told you that it's polite to answer a question, right? Somebody asks you a question, what do? You answer it. So if you think about using manners in your emails, end your email with a question. It's that simple to increase engagement from a customer because 8 out of 10 will think it's more polite and they'll feel compelled to answer it. Things like, will you be replacing a vehicle? Have you used the navigation in this vehicle? Have you seen this trim level? It doesn't matter what it is. You're ending with a question. You're keeping it soft and sweet, okay? All right, let's talk about what kind of buyer is this? Are you sending the right message? How many of you have been selling for more than 5 years? Okay, great. You may or may not remember when we used to say things like, and I see it sometimes still in stores, we used to teach people what kind of buyer somebody was. How do you handle a trade buyer? How do you handle a high A? How do you handle a high B? How do you handle somebody who is a payment buyer? So we spend 80% of our time when we're selling cars walking through demos, pulling up cars, having conversations, and we make 100% of our money in the last 20% during the close. Everything else is an investment of your time and your customers, okay? So imagine if instead of me saying to you at the end, now we've gone through the deal, we've been back and forth to the desk, we're starting to work it all out at the end, and then the customer throws us a hitch, right? They're like, well, I think my trade's worth $1,000 more. If you knew that that customer was a trade buyer an hour ago when you started the negotiations, would you have focused the discount that you gave or the value you put into the trade instead of into the car? You're right, you would have. Any great salesperson would have, okay? But if you don't know that, you can't do that. What I would challenge you with is whoever your CRM is, you know that. You just don't know to find it and use it. So take a look up here on the left here. I used ZMOT as our example. Obviously, that's my company. Okay. Down here, we've got KBB. Is that the same customer? That's not the same customer, and here's why. There is nobody easier to get into a showroom than somebody who has a trade-in. Nobody. If you're saying things like just get them in, that's not going to work, obviously. But if I can get you on the phone and I can explain that I'm so sorry that the person down the street offered you those figures, that's so unfair. Pause. What do you mean it's unfair? Well, that's not accurate. I mean, I can give you a range, the same thing they did, but did they offer to do a mechanical inspection for you? Oh my God, they didn't? Wow. You know, a sigh says a lot in a conversation. But if I know that you're a trade buyer, then I know that I don't even need to focus on the car, the price, or anything when you call in. I need to focus on your trade. And I know that because my CRM so gently hands it to me. It's laying right there for you, okay? Those customers are different. So what do they actually want? This is a study done by AutoTrader and also done by Edmunds the year before. So take that for what you will. But what do they actually want? If a lead comes in from an OEM, you guys got to wake up. All right, I want everybody to put their hands in the air, please. All of your hands in the air. Shake them around. Sir in the blue, I only see one hand in the air. Good job. All right, get them down. All right, if they're coming in from the OEM, they're researching models and comparisons typically. So the average buyer actually shops for up to 6 months, but you don't know at what point they entered your system or at what point they came to you. Right? Could be 2 months in, could be 4. My company knows that. Yours might not. Researching models and comparisons. Third party is research and pricing. Dealer website. These close at 2 times the actual rate of any other source on an actual vehicle. Now, don't get tripped up in that because it's a click and go mentality, right? We're online, we're clicking, and we're going, which means I'm on AutoTrader, and then I'm on Cars, and then I'm on Edmunds, and then I'm on this, and then I'm on Craigslist, and then I'm on your website, and then I'm on this, and now I've sent in all different leads. It doesn't matter anymore. Good job, guys. It doesn't matter anymore that the average consumer or the average lead provider, and I'll call those third-party ones leads and mean it, the average provider sells those up to 5 times to 5 different dealers. Up to 5 times. But even if they come on your website, they came from somewhere, they're going to click off and go somewhere else too. So keep these in mind when you're looking at the source. The source is important. You should be able to read the file in less than 2 minutes and still make the call. So many people get tripped up in walking out on the lot like, oh, I need to learn about this car real quick. Your customer already knows about the car. It's cool. You're selling you, not the car. They can get that car anywhere. All right. How many dealers do I have in the room? All right. This is never a fan favorite. Okay. Here's the thing. Your dealership is not special. It's made out of brick and mortar. It has cars in it. It's not special. The reason it's not special is because I can buy that car at any other dealership for the same price. I can negotiate a trade, a finance rate, a term, a warranty, a service contract, whatever it is you sell, and there's not anything you can give me in a building that's different than somebody else. What is different is the experience and the people that you put into it. It's the people that you put into your dealership is the reason that people buy from you. It has nothing to do with your name on the building or the 75 million commercials you made. And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, especially if you've owned the store for like 37 years and it was passed down 16 times, and I have nothing but respect for that. But know that it is the people that you put in your dealership that create that experience, and that is the reason that people convert, okay? All right. Let's talk about opportunity and product versus experience. How many of you are familiar with Disney and their Why Buy programs? Chevy is huge on this, right? Did you know that Disney pumps the smell of popcorn into their parks every morning at 5 a.m., like floods it? Did you guys know that? They do that because that takes you back to a time in childhood when things were so good. You're eating popcorn, you're thinking of the carnival, right? You smell a little apple pie, you're like, man, I miss Grandma. Those are comforting feelings. It's the same reason that when pro teams go and compete in other stadiums, their dressing rooms, that's what I call them, are pink. Because color matters, smell matters. If you don't have an air filtration system in your dealership yet, and you don't want to spend $1 billion to get it, then just go out and buy the $5 air filters that are scented and put them in the dealership. Are you buy water? Use coconut. Is your community festival cherry festival? Use cherry. Use something in your community that ropes them in and gives them a smell that's reminiscent of good times, right? Cotton candy is always a fan favorite. Vanilla, everybody likes that. Things like that cause comfort when somebody walks in, okay? Let's talk about your why buy. Everybody now has to have a why buy, and this goes back to we're not special. So why should somebody buy from us? I sit in front of dealers all the time, and I'm a consultant half of the time, so I'm in front of dealers saying, what is your why buy? Why are you special? Why would you buy from you? And you'd be amazed by how many people can't answer that question. I would challenge you to go back to your stores, get everybody together and ask this question, and when they can't answer it, or when you can't, don't get mad. This is a coaching opportunity. If you really can't figure out why somebody would buy from you, and you might think in your head as I say this, I've got this, but if you're thinking, we have the biggest inventory, no, you don't. Online does, right? We have the greatest CSI. Great, but the last time I bought a car from John, he told me the last 10 times, make sure I give him a perfect one, because that's what his bonus is tied to. That probably doesn't matter. We're family owned. It's huge. Now, our company owns 19 dealerships. What are we at now, Eric? 19. And we're family owned, and we pride ourselves in that. But do you really think that that's important to your customer? It's not. How can it be if you're a store that gives back to your community, and always have? You need your community to give back to you. That would be how you would spin that. Those three things don't count. You're not allowed to use those in your why buy, because you wouldn't buy somewhere for those three reasons. But if you want to know what it is and you're not sure, go back and read your customer reviews and let your customers tell you why. And then start to use that, because remember, that's the only thing you can offer that's different. I'm going to give you an example of a video for a why buy. This is a great video. This is not one of my clients. I was just impressed by the fact that they were willing to put this on their site. They send it out in their emails. They correspond using it. So let's take a quick look at this.
You've probably heard about our great customer reviews, but we'd like to show you why our customers love and trust Parkway Honda.
Our customers have voiced their opinions, and in 2015, Parkway Honda was awarded the best Honda dealership in Canada by DealerRater.
Buying a vehicle is one of the most significant purchases our customers make. We take great pride in the vehicles we sell and the customer service we provide.
Parkway Honda holds one of the largest new vehicle inventories in the GTA. Most importantly, our product specialists know how to find exactly the right vehicle for your lifestyle.
You're not just buying a car, you're entering into a long-term relationship.
Remember that dating thing? See, our problem is, and my boss always says in his stuff, he always says that the average person who's going through a heart surgery does 4 hours of research. But for automotive, it's 18 to 19 to find a car. How jacked up is that? That's because we're not trusted, right? So all you're doing with things like this is developing trust. You make this video one time, it goes into your CRM or into a template, and then it just goes out to every customer, right? That's pretty easy. It doesn't have to look professional. Anything I show you on videos today is not about being professional, it's about being credible. So send the salespeople out on the lot and tell them to climb through a trunk. Tell them to showcase bald tires. All you're trying to do is getting them comfortable on camera, okay? All right. Couple quick things that I see a lot in stores that are wrong. Inspect what you expect, and if you see this in your templates going back or in people's responses, which is, I'm here until 2. When can you come in? I don't care that you're here until 2. You haven't even earned the right to do anything for me yet. That's great. If I wanted to stop in at 2 tomorrow, I would have. But I didn't. I sent in a digital opportunity instead. So stop answering things like that and stop allowing sales staff to do that because they don't know better. Because you spent all this time teaching them on the phone to say things like, can you come in at 11:15 or can you come in at 3:45? That's when I'm going to be here. But then they're on the phone. We haven't even yet earned the right to ask the consumer a question, right? Again, think of it like dating. End with a question and include a why buy. We talked a little bit about templates. I'm not a fan of those, okay? I'll just tell you right off the gate. I understand why they're used. I don't think they're best practice. Try to get off of them if you're on them. Don't let people say whatever they want, though, either. And remember, this comes back to nonverbal communication. If you have somebody that's really good with a customer during the close, but just can't seem to grasp it on an email, go back to what we did 10 years ago with the hook and close. When I learned to sell cars, we did a hook and close. Everybody worked as a partner. Either you were the charmer that brought them in off the lot, or you were the closer. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, let's just let everybody do 75 different things, and then we wonder why our conversion ratios are low. Pair them up. It doesn't cost you any more money. If you need pay plans that work for people to be a hook and close and to sponsor each other, especially if you're bringing in millennials with veterans on the floor, and I'm a huge fan of veterans on the floor, they know the art of the close. That's something it took me 15 years to learn and 6 mentors. that were all way older than me, and none of them used technology. But they taught me how to close deals, and they taught me how to give an experience, and they were not the same people that could email. So if you need pay plans for that, see me after, and I'm happy to send them to you. All right, we're going to go into a couple questions that happen on leads. These are the most common ones that come in. Nice job. Delayed, you're getting a present. All right, what happens when you ask this 10 times at the desk? Okay, so here's the question. I'm still interested in this vehicle. The listed price is $3,000 more than what I'm willing to pay. Are you able to meet my price point? You get a couple different answers here. You either get like, we do not have $3 grand in the car. Come on now, right? We're not marking that up. That's not gonna happen. $3 grand, just tell them to come in and we'll talk about it, right? Hold on, let me jump in the car and drive an hour so we can have a conversation because we can't do this right now. When you answer things like that and you say things to yourself, like if I give them numbers, they're just shopping. They're already shopping. That's how you got them, right? Well, they're just going to go somewhere else and take them. Come on now. They already got 5 emails back from 5 other stores and checked the pricing on there. All of your stuff is online. It's not a secret. That's why the experience is important. But what happens in this situation particularly, and what will damage the sales in your store as a result of it, is that they'll only go to the desk so many times. I will only walk to the desk so many times with the same complaint before I will say, forget it. Because remember, battles and wars, somebody's going to win. Somebody at that desk is going to win, and somebody's going to say, forget it. The problem is you can come in and train people. I can send you all back to your stores to train, but if you don't train them this way or teach them this way, then eventually, when they keep coming back to you and coming back to you, you're going to say, just forget it. So then what happens when this comes back through 2 weeks from now to that same person? They're like, well, I'm not going to the desk. This is bull. And they're moving on. Only this is a buyer. You don't know why they want $3,000 off. Maybe they want $3,000 off because they were at your competitor's store and told the competitor that they needed a $300 payment, and the competitor said, well, you got to be at $15K. Now I'm looking for a $15K car. Doesn't have anything to do with the value, right? Might be that I'm buying the vehicle in cash, and that's how much money I have, but guess what? Over 70% of the people that look at vehicles online switch the car. And I don't even mean like they switch color. I mean like they go from like a Cruze to a diesel Cummings. It's the craziest thing. Because we've forgotten at some point that we're salespeople. Everyone in the room is selling all the time. As Cardone says, you're either selling or being sold all the time, right? So keep this in mind. All right, this is one that everybody always is scared by. Maybe you're not this dealer, maybe it's not you, maybe it is, and if so, this message is for you. What is the price of the vehicle? What's the answer to that? I can tell you that in the last month, I've looked through 426 emails from various different stores going to customers that had this question in them, and not one person in those answered the question. Everybody tried to skirt it. Here's the thing. The number one question that's asked when somebody calls in on a phone is the car available? That's what this question is. Also, if you get one in with no question, that's what that question is. It's just saying, I saw the price on your website or on somebody else's. Please tell me that it's accurate. Because we spent 20 years telling people that like you could get a $199 lease if you drove 2 Hondas, had a purple hat, no arm, and a cat named Fluffy. And then they came in and we were like, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have Fluffy? Sorry, there's nothing we can do for you here. They're just saying, hey, tell me if it's real. Is it real? That's it. It's really simple. Give them the price. It's not a secret. Even if you're not showing it on your site, your competitor is. And all you're doing by not answering their question is washing your hands and saying, I don't even want a chance. I don't know about you, but I'm not selling enough cars in my life to say I don't want any chances, okay? This is one of my favorite ones, and it's one that gets me the most fired up. This is a template that's available online. There's many of them. They've been around for like 10 years, that a customer can fill in and send in, right? So everybody take a look at this. This showed up in a forum, one that shall not be named. There were over 46 general managers, over 37 sales managers, and over 61 sales combination BDC people that said, in one way or another, I'd kick this. I ain't got time for that. Really? Because here's what I see. I've test driven the vehicle already, so I don't need to. Great. National studies say they visit 1.2 dealerships. Guess what? You just became the one. All you got to do is answer the question. Okay? But we think, well, we got to get them in so we can control it. Only sales is psychology. We've taught control for so long that even if you don't know that's how you learn to sell, that's how you learn to sell. And so you think that if you don't answer questions or you don't send things out that you're controlling it, but you're not. You're losing an opportunity. See, we can still control things. It just looks a little different now, right? I like to take the old school charm of our car business and mix it with modern technology. And that's what we're doing here. I'm looking to buy in the next 2 weeks. Oh, they're going to buy sometime soon. I'm researching all dealerships in the state, and I'll work with the dealership who gives me the best offer out the door. That's pretty typical. I'd like an out-the-door price on this model, availability, waiting time if you don't have it. So the customer's researched and knows now that this is a unique vehicle and that they might have to wait because of a dealer trade or something coming in. So they're also saying, I'll be patient if I choose you. I also want to know how far over or under invoice you are. How many times have you been on the floor, compared a deal, and then you're like, or you hear somebody say, well, that's not apples to apples, that's a different trim level. That's why they want over and under, so that it doesn't matter what the trim level is, they can make a comparison. This way I can compare offers accurately, please list any dealer fees out for me, because they want to know. This scared an entire group of adults. Like, when's the last time you walked into Target and had to negotiate the price of your soap? Because your dealership does not have anything different from your competitor except for the experience. And if you don't answer these questions, I couldn't believe it. I was so mad when I read it. Like the reply, and I'd be happy to send it to you guys on exactly what the process should be for this. All you got to do is share your information with me after. This customer is saying, I am a buyer. I'm also not going to come into the dealership and spend 5 hours looking through cars, test driving, wasting your whole day. I'm just saying I'm done, I'm cool. This is the only part I'm waiting for. And then I have sales managers who say things like, oh, just get them in so they can drive it. We already drove it, it doesn't matter. It's the transparency that breaks the wall down with the customer so that you have an opportunity to have the sale, okay? There is no information, what do I do with that? What did we say was the #1 reason people call? The #1 way that digital opportunities come in, they don't have questions attached, and people always say, well, what do they want? They want you to confirm that the car is here, and they want you to remind them that they are spectacular and that they are important, and they want you to make them feel special. We're dating, remember? That's what we're doing here. We're courting a customer so that we have an opportunity to turn it into a sale. All right, pro tip #5, inspect what you expect. We're gonna go pretty fast through these last couple slides so that we have time at the end if you have any questions. Inspect what you expect. If you're sitting in a chair going, we don't do that, maybe you don't. Maybe I'm wrong. Could happen. Please go back to your store and inspect what you expect. And remember, these are coaching opportunities. Natural behavior patterns say that it takes 21 days to form or to break a habit. That's why all these diets are always like the 21-day fix, right? Like, just get through 3 weeks and you're good. You want your kid to stop hanging out with a friend? Don't let them hang out for 21 days. They won't even like each other anymore. That's how this works, right? So go back and do that for me. All right, now to get into some of the other stuff, email best practices. Is the subject line and content actionable? Avoid all caps, spam, trigger words, and big exclamation points. We put those in subject lines. The email providers know that that is crap because email was not designed, and remember, Hotmail doesn't share best practice with the automotive industry, so sometimes you gotta pick your battles, okay? But remember that email was designed for two people who know each other to communicate with each other. What are the odds I'm gonna send you some stuff like, oh, I'm having a clearance event. Wanna come over Saturday? Let's watch a movie. Think about that when you're sending it out. Link video rather than autoplay. I am huge on video, and if you're not, you need to be attending sessions that have video while you're here because your competitors are not doing it yet. We are 5 years behind what everybody else is doing. You have a huge opportunity to make up for things without spending any money. It's an iPhone, people, and a YouTube channel. That's it. That's all we're doing. But add it as a link because the email providers do not favor that. Spam checkers are your friend. If you're gonna send out a campaign or something that's big old long email, which please stop doing that. People just like little ones. But if you're gonna do it, run it through isnotspam.com. There's a million free checkers online, and it'll tell you, especially if you're sending it to multiple people out of your CRM, make sure that you're not gonna be undeliverable and they're never gonna see it, okay? All right, everybody who has a smartphone, please hold it up. Phones in the air, phones in the air. All right, I want you to look at your email real quick, and I want you to tell me if you decided the last time you opened an email, if you were gonna do it on the subject line or the first 2 lines that you see on your smartphone. Over 60% of your customers are checking their email on their smartphone. We don't even go by subject lines anymore. We check the first 2 lines. Stop inserting cars in the beginning of an email, put them in the middle. Because what happens is the first 2 lines say things like 2.60 liter engine. It's not gonna get me to open it. But if you can make the first 140 characters actionable, I will, right? Give me a reason to want to. We're dating the customer, okay? All right, this is a $10 takeaway. I always have dealers say to me, I can't get my people to do it. And that's okay because one thing I will never judge you for is transparency in a conversation with me, ever. You don't know what you don't know, and everybody has to start at start. $10 takeaways are easy. Take $100 every week, break it into tens, put it in your office. Every time somebody does something positive, reinforce it with $10. Positive reinforcement changes behavior. So if you have one thing that you want to focus on, remember we needed to know our numbers in the beginning. Is it confirming calls? Is it actually answering a digital opportunity in 5 minutes? Whatever it is, give them the $10 for it. $10 is a strong thing for a lot of people because what happens is if you're married, your spouse doesn't know. If you want to grab lunch, you don't have to think about it. If you want to stop and grab cigarettes and you're not supposed to be smoking, you can. You want to grab a beer with your friends after work, that's cool. Nobody has to know, oh, I had to work late. I'm not saying lie to your spouse. I'm just saying if you do, this is probably a good plan. But everybody likes cash. That's why we used to give cash away in meetings. And now everybody's like, we got to have a W-9 for $10. Come on. Let's not be that petty. Let's just hand it out. Positive reinforcement for behavior. So when I say the word lead, what do? Good job. Do you know what just happened there? This entire time now I no longer have to tell you again. At least half of the room is clapping because I positively reinforced what you're doing. That was a mind trick. That was when you do something wrong, we're not going to be negative. We're going to reinforce the behavior by saying we recognize it. Good job. And then we move on. Okay? Make sense? All right. It's not manipulation. Just wanted you guys to know it works. All right. Next up, pro tip number 6, humanize yourself. This is where video comes in. If I'm talking to 5 different people at a dealership, why are you special? I'm not even answering my phone. You probably called me 176 times, Monday through Thursday, and then you're like, this source is terrible. Because you're not humanizing yourself. This is where the video comes in. If I send you a video, and if you give me your information after, that's what you'll see from me as a video, because that's how I communicate with my customers and my clients. But if I send a video, no, I'm a person. Think about it. We hire people in dealerships because they're charming. We hire people in dealerships because they're good with people. But if the only way that I can talk to you is through the written words, words are a series of letters strung together, and they only have the meaning that you give them. That's what my life coach says. She's right. But if I know that I'm a person, my charm can come through on camera, but it can't come through on paper. So for no other reason, do it for that. All right, I'm going to give you an example of a personalized video response to a potential buyer because I want you to know just how easy this is and how many seconds it takes. This is made with iMovie on an iPhone. There's nothing special here. It's even free. I think they have $1.99 apps if you're still working with an Android.
Hi Jerry, it's Elise with ABC Motors. I just wanted to say thank you for your internet request for a 2012 Honda Civic. My direct phone number is area code 805-441-3398. I value the opportunity to be of service, and I look forward to...
Did that look hard? So that's a personalized one. That means you'd have to make it for each customer, right? So what about if you just want to make it one time and set it and forget it?
Hi, good morning. This is James over at Garber Buick GMC. I wanted to take a quick moment to make you this personalized video email. I'm going to be the one helping you with your online request.
Look at that smile. Doesn't he feel
I just left a
comfortable?
voicemail for you. Call me back when you have a moment. My number here is 904-814-3186. I'm going to be in the office until 7 o'clock this evening, and I'll be sure and follow up a little later on if I haven't heard anything back. Thank you again, and here is a customer testimonial.
Now it's going to play a customer testimonial, which is the why buy. But wasn't that charming? Did you see the smile? Does that feel scary? Customers are scared of us. They're scared, and they should be scared of us. We're charming people, right? Like sometimes we talk people into doing stuff we know they shouldn't do. So I want you to think about an appointment set. One of the biggest problems in stores is confirmation calls. I like to call them reaffirmation calls. But confirmation calls. I can tell you as a girl that the last time I made a hair appointment that was only 2 days away and I work in automotive, I totally forgot. Thank God they called me the morning of. Wouldn't have been intentional. I'm just busy and I forgot. It's not that I'm inconsiderate, right? So it's the same thing. One of the easiest ways to address this, and you still should be making the calls, is an appointment confirmation video. So this video is going to do a couple things. I want you to watch for where he humanizes himself, and I want you to watch for where he sets up a TO, because that's important.
Hi, my name is JC Kent. I'm the General Sales Manager here at Delray Buick GMC. I was reviewing our appointments and I saw that you were scheduled to visit with us. First off, thank you for the opportunity to earn your business. Also, when you meet with your product specialist, have them come grab me so I can go say hello to you guys. I like to meet all of our guests in person. Thank you once again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Oh, you see that? That's the humanized part. Did you catch the part where he said, when you come in, we like to meet all of our guests. I'm the GM. Please ask for me so I can come out and close you and you don't feel like that's happening, right? Setting it up previously, guys, base hits. All right, next up, we've got 5 minutes left, so I'm going to run you through Zone 1 now boarding. How many people flew here? Did it make you feel special that your zone got called first if you were a zone 1 or 2? Or if you were a 2 or 3, were you like, what the heck? Here's a little tip when you're flying. When you get on the airplane, your Wi-Fi doesn't work anymore. Nobody should get on first, right? Unless you have an overhead bag, stay off the plane until it's your turn. You can play with your stuff, charge your phone. It's a whole thing. But because it makes you feel special, it's designed for experience, you believe that it's a great time, and then you're like, oh, I'm zone 1, I'm gonna board. Not good. Same way your customers feel. Make them feel like they're always in zone 1, that they're always sky priority, that they're always first class, okay? All right. Pro tip number 7, you win or you lose. We talked about this as 2 people can battle and only 1 can win. Hands in the air and complacency is a big thing. Don't let that be your store, okay? All right. How would you handle it on the floor? Whenever you have an internet buyer come in, think about how you would handle it on the floor. I would challenge you to go back to your store and say, if a customer walks in today and doesn't buy a car, what should we do on day 1? Everybody will roll with it. What should we do on day 2? Everybody will roll with it. What should we do on 3? I don't know, maybe this. Get to 4. Because remember, I said the average buying cycle is up to 180 days, and everybody stumbles at day 4. But if the customer came in on a Thursday and they were up north for the weekend, or they were with their family for the weekend, do you really believe you shouldn't call them on Monday? Or that you shouldn't try to contact them on Monday? But that's where everybody gets stuck. And I don't tell you that to say that you're doing something wrong or to do that. I tell you that so that it's a knowing problem, so that when you go back, you know how to fix it. These processes have to match what you have on the floor. All right, remember these 75% created, 75% confirmed, 80% shown, and 80% closed? These are the numbers you're trying to get to. But these numbers won't happen tomorrow. So think about where you're at now. I want you to go back and start at start and figure out what your real numbers are, okay? How many internet buyer opportunities came in? How many were created? How many were confirmed? How many were shown? How many were closed? And then every week, I want you to look that number back up again so that you can identify over the next 6 weeks where your problem is. Because it's likely that you're strong in a couple areas and weak in 1 or 2, and these are things that you can use to fix them, okay? All right, next up, start at start. This is something we say a lot in the Cardinelli group of companies because we believe that when people come in and talk to us or when people come in and say we should do stuff, that there's some judgment at the end, that there's some, hey, you gotta do all this stuff tomorrow. We never wanna come in and try to change a culture or a store. We wanna come in, and I want you to think about your dealership like this, and this is with anybody you bring in, so this isn't about me or a pitch or anything like that, but your dealership is like a glass, a vase glass full of rocks, right? When you bring somebody in to make a difference in your store or you try to create change, you're pouring sand in. We're filling in the gaps. Then we're gonna pour water in so it fills in where the sand is, and that's how we get to here. But if you go back to your store and you dump the rocks out and you start all over, you'll set yourself back years. You have to look at what you're doing and take all the best practices you guys get at this conference, all the 2 things that you're gonna take away from every session, and think of it like the sand. Put the sand in so you can start to rebuild that foundation, and then you can decorate the house. Does that make sense? All right, we have just a couple minutes. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer for you? I'll be at booth 145 all day, so you're welcome to chat with me there too. But does anybody have any questions? No? You guys are all geniuses already? I love that. That's great news. All right, then. Come see me at booth 145, and you guys are excused for the day. Have a great day, and take away some stuff.